am uncomfortable with this concept of work-life balance. Because balance is achieved with two opposing forces. And why should work and life be in opposition, right? And I don't think if you don't have work-life balance, if you're struggling to find work-life balance, no amount of yoga will fix that, right? Taking off an extra week of vacation, and by the way, vacation means you're not working on the beach. That's just telecommuting from a beach. But I believe in that you're able to build a life where work and personal life become, I don't want to say interchangeable, but smooth. And what I mean by that is they're not necessarily confined by hours in a day, but rather where I choose to give effort. So for example, if it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, technically part of the work day, and you're hankering for a run because it's a day like this, you can go for a run. Like, that's, and one of the mistakes that I've made was treating things that are important to my mind, my body, my spirit, as something that I'm only supposed to do off hours or on weekends. Sure. But just like I can't decide when I have an idea, sometimes it's on Saturday and sometimes it's in the evening, I also can't decide when I need a break. Sometimes it's something I feel, not something I plan for. And so we've gotten really good. It's imperfect. Sometimes responsibility takes precedence, but we've gotten really good in our little company that if somebody wants to take an afternoon to be with their kids, they put in their calendar, with my kids. A long time ago, I used to have, when I had a different form of a business before all of this stuff, we used to have things called duvet days, which I can't remember, we had like 5 duvet days a year or something. And a duvet day was, you wake up in the morning, you just don't want to come to work. You're totally healthy, or it's a beautiful day and I just would rather go to the beach. So you'd call up and leave a message at 8 o'clock in the morning or 7 o'clock in the morning, and be like, hey, I'm taking a duvet day, I'll see you tomorrow. And no one would bother you, right? And people are like, that's amazing that you do that, Simon. I'm like, people are doing that anyway. It's called, hey, I think I have a 24-hour bug. I'm not going to be at work today. And they go to the beach. So just call it out. Schedule time at the gym in the middle of the day if that's when you like working out. And I just found the more seamless that we can make work and life, the more we start to enjoy both more, because they're not opposing.
Alone. A Pew Research survey last year found that roughly 1 in 5 workers was somewhat or very likely to look for a new job in just the next 6 months. That's a lot of unhappy people. But 73% of American workers this year said that their job or career is at least somewhat important to their overall identity, to who we are. So our work matters, and we matter more. I have 2 brilliant sisters, and the youngest one, my sister Abby, called to ask my advice. Kate, she said, how do you know when it's time to quit your job? My heart sank. Abby is an award-winning oncology nurse who takes great pride in providing compassionate care to her patients, the sickest of the sick. Her apartment fridge is covered with thank you notes from these patients, and sometimes from their surviving family members. No doubt about it, her work was hard, but she was great at it. And for nearly a decade, she had loved this important work. But it was the fall of 2020, and she was no longer sure she could continue in her profession. My mind raced, and I thought about all the patients she had touched and all the patients she had yet to touch, all the thank you notes yet to be written. How do you calculate the loss when someone walks away? It reminded me of the butterfly effect. Have you heard of it? Well, it's a part of chaos theory, but poetically, it's this idea that when a butterfly flaps its wings, it can cause a hurricane on the other side of the world. Small changes can have a big impact. I had faced moments like this in my career too, and I spent a long time spinning my wheels, pursuing a strategy that got me nowhere. I'll never forget the first time my husband sat me down for one of our kitchen table talks. And it started, as the talk always did, with, "Katie, I'm telling you this because I love you." Uh-oh. And I want to support your work because I know how much it means to you. But I'm worried. You're keeping crazy hours and you seem so stressed. You always say next week will be better, but next week is never better. And I just miss you. Oh, he was right. But the bigger thing that I realized, I missed me too. Something about my work wasn't working. And so I created the first of many, what I like to call my Better Balance plans. Maybe you've made one of these. You know, where you decide you're finally going to achieve that elusive work-life balance. For me, it was all about strict rules. Rules for when I would leave work, rules for when I would check email, rules for what conversation topics were allowable on the weekends, and oh yes, I was the life of the party. Thank you very much. And as long as everyone and everything and every email followed my Better Balance plan, everything was going to be fine. Simple. But no matter what I tried, it never solved the problem. Because my heart was whispering, work-life balance is a lie. A lie. Whether we like it or not, our work is a part of our life. It's not some wholly separate thing. And there's no perfect ratio of work to life. Looking for this point of balance reminds me of food scientists, because they have a bliss point that they work hard to find. They tinker, and they are looking for the exact right amount of salt, fat, sweet, crunch that's going to make the food irresistible. But here's the thing. Your life is not a potato chip. There's no perfect point of balance that's going to provide ultimate bliss. So if balance isn't a helpful goal, what would be a better way to think about our work and our lives? I want to say an important word, a word we're going to come back to and unpack in just a minute. Alignment. Because I think we move beyond our own kitchen table talks by finding alignment in our work and lives. And I think we can learn important lessons in finding alignment from even a 3-year-old. I've spent most of my professional career in Montessori education, and I could go on and on about what that means to me. But for today, I want to share with you just 2 aspects of Montessori education that I think can inform how we think about our work. Because in Montessori environments, the term work has some unique connotations. So first, let me tell you about Max. Max's dad came to my friend Heather with a problem. It was great that Max seemed to be enjoying his Montessori school, but he was having trouble adjusting to days that were less routine. Specifically, weekends. Specifically, weekend mornings. In fact, Max cried most weekend mornings, and not even after anything had even happened. He just seemed to wake up and burst into tears. Max's dad was perplexed. He loved weekends. Maybe you can relate. In fact, Max's dad would joyfully announce weekends by cheering, "No work today." "Oh," said my friend Heather, "that's it." "What's it?" "The no work part," she said. Because here in our Montessori classrooms, all of the interesting and engaging activities are called work, not play. So to Max, an announcement of no work today might as well have been a proclamation of no fun today. First thing in the morning. I might cry too. Oh, Max's dad saw the problem, and Max didn't cry on weekends after that. You see, Max didn't see work as a drudgery or a necessary evil. No, to Max, work was interesting, challenging, and in the challenge, even fun. My sister had felt that way about her work before the pandemic too. So Max can teach us the first lesson from Montessori classrooms, a blurring of work and play. And there's a second lesson that's important too. When most of us talk about work, we're talking about whatever it is we do to earn money, our paid employment. I like to think of that stuff as our paycheck work. But Montessori environments take a really broad view of work, with the idea that each being in our interconnected universe has a unique role to fulfill. We call it a cosmic task. The Montessori scholar Camillo Grazzini explained this with a metaphor, saying that we might think of the world as a great household, a cosmic household, where all the jobs involved in running the household have been divided up and shared. This cosmic task, I like to think of as our purpose work, what I am here to do and be right now. And maybe there's great overlap between your paycheck work and your purpose work. There is for me. But getting clear on these two types of work has made all the difference in how I prioritize my time and my life. It's helped me to find alignment. And one of the goals of Montessori education is to help students live into their own cosmic task, their own purpose work. Basketball phenom Steph Curry, founders of Google and Amazon, actor Helen Hunt, diarist Anne Frank, chef Julia Child, all of these are former Montessori students who went on to make an impact on the world. But I'm no Steph Curry. So what does it mean for us to live into our cosmic task? To blur the lines between work and play? I think it's about bringing our lives into alignment. So let's unpack what I mean by that word. According to Oxford Languages, things can be said to be in alignment when they are in the correct or appropriate relative position. So to visualize this, I like to think of our lives as an ever-expanding piece of magical mosaic art made up of all the pieces of our lives. And alignment means we get to choose where each piece is located, according to who we are and what we need right now. So maybe we decide it is a piece worthy of a front and center position. Or maybe it's going to be a more peripheral piece for the moment. We might have hundreds of mosaic pieces with room for our paycheck work, our service, our activism, our relationships, our hobbies, our faith. And the whole mosaic can be organized in service to our purpose work, our cosmic task. So when we have that feeling of general unease, a feeling that something isn't working, it means we need a change in our life mosaic. Something is out of alignment. And before you run out and quit your job, I think there are two questions to ask that can help us to realign, to come home to ourselves, and to be at home in our one precious life. So the first question to ask when we're feeling out of alignment is, which pieces of our life mosaic need attention? Now be careful, this one is trickier than it seems. When my sister called me with her important question, she was sure the problem was her work. And indeed, pandemic work at the hospital had been more difficult. But work wasn't the only thing that had shifted for her. Her gym had closed. Her days off had been lonely. She even had to say goodbye to her best furry friend. So if Abby was going to find alignment in her life, she had some non-work pieces that needed adjusting too. Which brings us to the second question. Once we find the pieces that we feel like need our attention, we ask ourselves, to bring this piece back into a healthy alignment, do I need an internal shift, an external shift, or maybe both? An internal shift is a change I can make within myself. So I might change my attitude, my thought patterns, or my self-talk. I might learn a new skill, implement a new habit, or set a new boundary. I don't need anyone else to make my internal shifts, and they can be incredibly powerful. I have complete control. Most of personal development falls under this category. But internal shifts, as powerful as they are, can't solve everything. There is no amount of positive self-talk that's going to solve the problems of a short-staffed emergency room. So we may need an external shift as well, and these run quite the gamut. So maybe you do need to quit your job, move to a new location, or end an important relationship. Only you can know that for sure. But maybe a more subtle shift would make all the difference. And the beautiful thing about that is when we can tweak an environment to better support our own thriving, very often we can support the thriving of others as well. When we advocate to make a workplace safer or more inclusive, it is safer or more inclusive for everyone. When her work wasn't working, my sister did make changes to her career. But I'm so happy to say she did not walk away from the profession that she loved. She revamped what the work pieces of her life looked like, exploring different roles in oncology care. And she addressed the non-work pieces as well, with increased focus on her relationships and her own healthy habits. Today, Abby lights up when she talks about her work. She has reconnected to herself and to an important part of her cosmic task, providing compassionate care to those touched by cancer. But her life mosaic is not yours. Each one of us has our own unique life mosaic. So her solutions aren't going to be the same as ours. You're the only one who can find the right alignment for your one and only, your tiny and precious life. And the world needs you and your unique brand of magic. You have things only you can do, things only you can bring to the world. Remember that butterfly effect? You are the butterfly, and you can cause a hurricane. Your cosmic task is calling. Let's begin.
My name is not Jo, and I don't work in a factory. But I have a house, no dog, but a family. I'm a professor, and I'm an executive coach. I'm an author, a mother, a sister, a partner, a daughter, a friend. I hold a license in psychotherapy, and now I give a TED Talk. You can imagine that the question, how do you get it all under one roof, hits me quite often. For a very long time, I just shrugged with my shoulders and I said, well, I don't know, I guess it just works. Today I know that's a big lie. Combining different roles and tasks in our life is everything except coincidence. It's not done with just leaning in, as Facebook COO Sheryl Sandberg suggests. She also says it's all about the right partner. Well, he doesn't help if he walks away, right? It's a complex strategy. It's a life principle, which I call the Tailor Your Life principle. It actually consists of many different strategies that those people successfully apply who make it all work. And what does successful mean in that context? Well, it means they are doing all of those things without feeling worn out, without suffering from a bad conscience, without permanently thinking about what they are missing in their lives, without feeling sorry for themselves. How do I know? Well, a while ago I conducted an online survey. I tried to find out what those happy work-life balancers, those champions in compatibility, do differently from those who aren't satisfied with the combinations of their various obligations in life. This group was a rather small group, 40 actually, out of 196 participants. I also talked to some of those successful people, people in leadership positions, who had kids or other care duties, who had hobbies, friends, or were engaged in social projects. I tried to find out whether what they do is somehow related to my own strategies. And today I can say, yeah, that's the case. So let me share some of the secrets. Secret number 1. If you want to get it all under one roof, the first thing I can recommend, throw away your work-life balance. When I am invited to talks, usually people believe I'm the work-life balance queen. They also believe that my life must be in a total equilibrium, that I manage to dedicate 50% of my lifetime to my private matters and 50% to my business duties. Well, that's not the case. But you know what? I couldn't care less. And you know why? Because I don't believe in that whole concept of work-life balance. I actually think it's a total cheat. Now, let me explain why. According to the German Ärzteblatt, 1 out of 2 Germans are afraid to suffer from burnout in the near future. 6 out of 10 feel continuously exhausted. And a good work-life balance is a key criterion for many employees when they're looking out for a new job. However, measures taken by companies to improve the work-life balance of their employees, such as increased home office options or digital detox areas, yoga and meditation sessions, all great. However, they are by no means enough to really prevent people from feeling off balance. And you know why? Because they're aiming at achieving a state that is a complete illusion. What the hell is work-life balance? Let's look at that concept. First of all, it suggests two poles on a scale that, from my point of view, simply do not exist. That is, usually those who work live, right? Or have you ever had your hair done by a dead hairdresser? Well, I haven't. I haven't seen one alive due to the pandemic either, but that's a different story. Anyway, second question I have. How can anyone actually decide what belongs into the pan of life and what belongs into the pan of work? People who believe that life does not mean work obviously haven't had the fun yet to have kids in puberty, old parents, bored friends, or train for a marathon. Where does my tax declaration go? I'm confused. Next, what do you think about this current definition of work-life balance as here in the Cambridge Dictionary? It says, the amount of time you spend doing your job as compared with the amount of time you spend with your family and doing things you enjoy. According to this, it is basically impossible to enjoy the time you spend doing your job. To me, that's simply not true. Sitting in my quiet office on an early Monday morning after a packed weekend with my puberty kids, it's absolutely recreational. So dividing our life into two parts, where one gets the role of the evil and the other one of the good, I don't think that makes sense at all. I believe that a concept like this will even hinder us from being satisfied. Easily, we are reviled as workaholics, playing in the same league as drug addicts, and sense that too much work is super unhealthy and automatically makes us unhappy. Yet, one of the most robust findings out of the World Happiness Report from 2017 is that unemployment is destructive to people's well-being. And this is true for people all over the world. The employed evaluate the quality of their lives much more highly on average than the unemployed. Individuals who are unemployed also report around 30% more negative feelings in their day-to-day lives. So work actually is connected to enjoyment. And the last thing I don't like about this common model of work-life balance is that the idea of a balance implies that the answer to satisfaction lies in an equal distribution. Consequently, I could conclude that the more time I need for my work, the more time I need to invest in my private duties. Honestly, I did this for a very long time. So I was working 8 to 9 hours approximately a day. Afterwards, I ran to the supermarket to buy some healthy food, I cooked some dinner, I picked up my kids, I played with them, and then I hustled to my yoga class. You know what? On the surface, my life really was all in balance. However, I really felt exhausted. It was only my decision to not balance out full working days with social or recreational pursuits or not work that much on a day that I wanted to have more time for myself. That finally led to some kind of inner harmony. So here's my secret number 2. Instead of balancing things out in your life to that 8-8-8 recipe, 8 hours of sleep, 8 hours of business, 8 hours of private time, try to find your personal mix. Replace the through a patchwork quilt. Associate with patchwork. Maybe something like colorful, dynamic. Maybe something like imperfect. Well, yeah, it's a mixture of different things. And I think this is how we should see our lives. Actually, the tasks that we do stand for the different patches. And the good thing is, patchwork quilt is anything else but perfect. It's individual. There's no master plan. However, I think there are 3 things that you need to consider before you start sewing. First of all, you need to know a one-colored patchwork quilt is not a patchwork quilt, which means that you should at least integrate a couple of different patches. And if you look at what makes people happy besides a paid job, it's deep relationships and frequently time for yourself. You can spend that time with creative hobbies, with sports, I don't care. As Sigmund Freud already said, love and work are the cornerstones of our humanness, and I think you also need some time for yourself. Second, you should be aware that you can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. What does that mean? Well, actually, you have to look at your goals. You have to look at what you want to achieve, and that needs to be coherent with your current life design. So if you want to stand there on your 70th birthday and you want your kids to tell nice stories about how you spend time with them, you certainly need to integrate a patch like this in your current life design. Now, if you want to integrate a new patch into your life, either because you're getting a child or you're climbing into the leadership position, or you do have to do some care work, then you will certainly have to sort out one patch, one or the other, or at least decrease some of them in size. So what does that mean? The third rule is our day only has 24 hours, 168 hours a week, and that's the framework you need to stick to. And that's what immediately takes me to the third secret of people who make it all work. And that's the aspect that they have learned how to prioritize. You know, when I received the invitation to this TED Talk 2 days ago, no joke, 1 hour before midnight, Thursday night. Actually, I had a completely full calendar, but after quickly checking to talk to you and reflect upon how that talk would be in line with my future plans, with my values, my passion, I decided to cancel everything else and prepare for the talk. To be here tonight means that I cannot be with my family. And this is because I'm not Harry Potter. So you can only do one thing at a time. And that means you need to take decisions. So if anyone on Monday asks me, how did you manage to do that tech talk? I will say, by decision taking. So Here it is. Taking wise decisions is one secret that people really do who get it all under one roof. I just live by the rule, you can't have it all at once, but many things one after the other. Getting many things under one roof means taking wise decisions. And how do you get those wise decisions? By introspection, naturally. So you really have to find out, what do you want in your life? Be true to yourself. Each time something new will come in, each time you feel overburdened, clarify for yourself which of those tasks do deserve your priority, because they're in line with your personal goals. And that should also make it much easier for you to focus on the things that you do. And that's the next secret that successful people do who get it all under one roof. It's concentration or focus. If they have decided to do something, they will really concentrate on that. Mind wandering, multitasking, that's not their thing. So practically, they will stick with one aspect that they do. They won't give up quickly. They will just stay in the moment. If they play with their kids, maybe only 1 hour a day, they will not talk on the phone. They will not check their emails if they are in a video conference. No, they commit impulse control. They will certainly just stay there and focus. The last secret hint that I can share with you today is that successful people who make it all work take responsibility. In my coaching practice, I deal with a lot of people who are very unhappy with the designs of their lives. There is the manager who feels that he never finds enough time for his family because his job won't allow him to leave his office early. There's the part-time worker who tells me that she can't climb the career ladder because she has small kids. Some of them feel that they suffer from a poor work-life balance because their company doesn't allow for enough flexibility or their partner doesn't support them enough. Listening to them, I frequently get the impression that they are not the designers of their own quilt, but simply the owners. All these people do is find reasons for why their life isn't the way they want, so by giving other people a certain kind of responsibility of their life design. Yet, when talking to them a bit longer, I often find out that the problem is a completely different one. They simply do not live the life that they want to live. They live the life which they believe is expected of them, and that's very often related to what they saw their parents do. A research study conducted by Joona Lupu showed that even though many individuals consciously aspired to have a more balanced life, many continue to reproduce an ethos of hard work and sacrificing family life. This suggests that our beliefs formed during our childhood shape our later choices, and we often end up in reproducing the status quo, even if it's against our own deep desires. In other words, the barriers to spend our lifetime like we want to spend it often do not lie in organizations or society, but within ourselves. We consciously or unconsciously repeat what our parents did, or we do the very opposite, and we are very unhappy with it. Yet, we can only make significant changes in the direction of the lives that we want to live by finding out whether there is a gap between our unconscious ambitions and our conscious expectations and beliefs. This means if you want to feel balanced in your life, you first have to be true to yourself. What does really matter to you? How would your life to be? In a second step, ask yourself, what can you do to contribute to come closer to the design that you want? For today, simply remember, the one and only designer of your patchwork quilt, that is you. So throw away the balance, get a needle and a thread, and tailor your life to fly, according to your own instructions.